All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? I am Chase Corrington. Today we're in the car, as you can see, and it is Thursday, and we're going to do some Tao. Do the Tao now. Lately, we've been doing the Tao on Tuesday. We'll see how the schedule works going forward, but Thursday, Tuesday, Tuesday, do the Tao, ladies and gentlemen, no matter what day of the week it is. And today, we've got a fantastic verse for us. Wayne Dyer titles it Living the Illusive Paradox. And so, like I said, if I didn't say, we're reading from Dr. Wayne Dyer's Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. I'm gonna have to get used to the location of the little camera lens there so I can look you in the eyes, ladies and gentlemen. But Living the Illusive Paradox. This is going to be a good one. It's kind of warm in here, so if I break a sweat, don't hold it against me. All right, let's see if we can get this done in 20 minutes. The 21st verse of the Tao Te Ching. The greatest virtue is to follow the Tao, and the Tao alone. The Tao is elusive and intangible. Although formless and intangible, it gives rise to form. Although vague and elusive, it gives rise to shapes. Although dark and obscure, it is the spirit, the essence, the life breath of all things. Throughout the ages, its name has been preserved in order to recall the beginning of all things. How do I know the ways of all things at the beginning? I look inside myself and see what is within me. That is the 21st verse of the Tao Te Ching, and I love that one, ladies and gentlemen, because one of my favorite topics and things to try to understand when it comes to these kind of metaphysical, spiritual teachings is the understanding of a paradox. And what a paradox is, and most simply put, it is what was stated in this verse here. Although formless and intangible, it is what gives rise to form and tangibility, I'll add. And although it is vague and elusive, it gives rise to shapes. So, in other words, a paradox is something that is both opposites and at the same time. So let's begin with what Wayne Dyer has to say here. Here in this 21st verse of the Tao Te Ching, Lao-tzu takes us back to the book's very first premise, living the mystery. And if you missed that video, go back in the playlist and check it out, ladies and gentlemen. That was a good one. He has returned to the idea's definition and virtue and reaffirmed it with greater clarity and precision. In this lesson, he not only asks us to become conscious of the elusive nature of the Tao, a principle that simply cannot be pinned down or experienced with the senses, but to also validate this awareness by recognizing ourselves as examples of this elusive paradox, ladies and gentlemen. Reread the concluding lines of this important verse. How do I know the ways of all things at the beginning? Right? That's the great question. And it's like, I look inside myself and see what is within me. Now go all the way back to your own beginning. How did you get here? I don't mean from a droplet or a particle of human protoplasm. Go even before that. Quantum physics teaches that particles emerge from an invisible and formless energy field. Now see, this is very important about the knowledge and wisdom of manifesting as well, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll reread that sentence. That's so important. Quantum physics teaches that particles emerge from an invisible and formless energy field. So from the energy, the waveforms to particles is how reality is created. And it comes from the thought, the mind, the Akashic principle, through the workings of the elements and the electric and magnetic parts of the universe and its interactions with the elements and the mind and the Akashic principle to bring things from the waveforms in that infinite, I love how he puts it there, emerge from an invisible formless energy field that I would say is infinite. Now let's continue. So all creation, including your own, is a function of motion. From formless energy to form, from spirit to body, from the nameless Tao to a named object. Remember, the Tao that can be named is not the Tao. And the Tao does things. It does nothing but leaves nothing undone. It's another one of those paradoxes. It does nothing, but it also does all things. So, the process of creation, Wayne Dyer continues, along with the theme of understanding eternal namelessness, runs throughout the Tao Te Ching. This is the elusive paradox that you're invited to contemplate, allow, and experience. You can know it by examining your own nature and recognizing that the same principle that creates everything is animating our every thought and every action, ladies and gentlemen. It's what's breathing us. It's what's beating our hearts. It's what's blowing the wind. It's what's warming my car up as I speak here. Now, right now, Wayne Dyer says, make a simple decision to move your index finger. Now wiggle your toes. Lift your arm. Finally, ask yourself, what is it that allows me to make these movements? In other words, what is it that allows you to see shapes and colors? What force behind your eyes invisibly signals you to process the sky as blue or a tree as tall? What is the formless energy that tweaks a vibration somewhere in your ear to give rise to a sound? What is all of this? And what it all is formless and nameless. Yes, it is vague. Yes, it is obscure. And when you begin to see the world in this manner, you begin knowing that aspect of your own self. And remember, that's something we're always trying to focus on here is the greatest question that any of us can ask is, who am I? And then begin the process of knowing ourselves. Know thyself, ladies and gentlemen. And so this formless, nameless, and when you begin to see the world in this manner, you begin knowing that aspect of yourself that is also formless and nameless, ladies and gentlemen. So this is what Lao-tzu describes as the life of breath, the life breath of all things. And it needn't remain a mystery. You have the same eternal Tao inside of you, and you apply it 1,000,000 times a day. It is within you, but it's not only within you, it is you, and we are it. If that isn't a confusing paradox and a mind blower, then you're on to something, ladies and gentlemen. If you're getting this, if you're getting what we're putting down here, you're advanced. You're advancing through the levels. And if you're getting value, consider subscribing, smash the like, and let me know what you think. Now let's continue here. The greatest virtue... This far-reaching verse of the Tao Te Ching asks you to let go of seeking results in money, accomplishments, acquisitions, fame, and so on. Instead, shift your attention to the energy in the beginning of all things, the elusive and intangible Tao. The greatest virtue is to find this nameless, formless force within yourself, and then to know it by looking within and seeing it at work in all of your thoughts and actions. And this is one of the key principles, or one of the key purposes for a meditative practice, is so you can begin to come in contact, conscious contact with that force that is being described here, that some people will call, Great Spirit, Universe, God, the Tao, whatever you want to call it. As long as you're not anthropomorphizing things, which means turning these ideas into a person. So this is what Lao-tzu was conveying to you more than 2,500 years before your birth. And that's important to remember, ladies and gentlemen. This wisdom comes from 2,500 years ago. And I'm sitting here in my car today, loving every bit of it. And it's more applicable, well, I'm not going to say more applicable today than ever, but using that as a phrase, not being totally 100% about that, but this applies just as well today as it ever has. And so have an unquenchable thirst for the intangible and enigmatic force that supports all life, ladies and gentlemen. That's the suggestion that Wayne Dyer gives to us today. He says, communicate with the source regularly, ask for its guidance, and meditate on its sacredness. The more you practice benevolent reverence for the invisible Tao, the more you'll feel connected to it. And I'd like to take a second to elaborate on that point, because in reading the mystical works of Hermes Trismegistus and the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, or Tahoth, from Egypt, which some people think the wisdom of that came down from previous high advanced civilizations, possible Atlantis and any other great names that you could think of. For some reason, Lemuria always stands out for me. For Lemuria! But anyways, communicate with this source regularly. Oh yeah, what the teachings of Hermes was talking about is like, what is the purpose of life? Because that's that great question that we're always wondering about. And it was so simply and succinctly put in there. It was like, the purpose of life is to know that all things are God. I don't think he used the word God. I'll have to revisit that in another video, and I'll get the terms correct. But all things, the Tao, the universe, whatever, you recognize creation as creation. And once you can do that, once you can recognize all things that you see as creation, you can then respect them and have reverence for all creation. And so that, plus tending to the garden, so to speak, when you look at creation that we exist amongst as a part of it, and it a part of us, once we can recognize that it is this great thing and have reverence for it, then we tend to it and keep it, and we're stewards of it. And that is the purpose of life. And I mean, once you really get that, once you're like, oh yeah, everything is beautiful, perfect, despite even the worst things that happen, because they're opportunities for learning and growing. So once you can get there, it's really like the asking any deeper questions what the purpose of life is becomes irrelevant, because happiness is the way. And when happiness is the way, ladies and gentlemen, then the goal or the destination becomes irrelevant, because we've made the way the goal or the destination. The journey is the destination. And so once we can have reverence for every bit of life or creation or reality and become a steward of it, there's really nothing else we need to do. We just enjoy the show as much as we can, and any challenges we're given, we react the best way we possibly can, and then we get good. I always think of somebody fencing. Once you get good at fencing life or sword fighting life, you can kind of play it with some gusto, and you can avoid the roughest things. So have that unquenchable thirst for the intangible and enigmatic force that supports all life, which is Wayne Dyer's recommendation. And so the more we practice benevolent reverence for this invisible Tao, the more you'll feel connected to it. The presence of a known connection with the Tao will release you from worry, stress, and anxiety that are the ego's way of looking at the world, while those around you may stay focused on their pursuit of wealth and fame and power, and you'll notice it and smile compassionately as you practice being in a state of appreciation for the life breath of all things, including yourself. And I think that's a super important lesson right there. You'll feel safe and secure knowing that you're in a divine partnership with the all-knowing, all-providing Tao. I suggest that you simply take a moment or two several times a day to say aloud, thank you, God, thank you, Tao, thank you, creation, thank you, Atum, I think is what it was referred to in the Emerald Tablets. But whatever name you give for the force this force that is running the show. Thank it for everything. And make this your own personal, respectful ritual. And I do this in my own life. And once I started, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, gratitude and abundance will begin to flow into your life more than it ever did when you were chasing after and striving with a lack of things. Once you have this gratitude and this reverence, make it your own personal, respectful ritual. In fact, just a moment ago, I said these very words. Wayne Dyer said, "Thank you for allowing these words to appear supposedly from my pen. I know that the source of everything, including these words, is the elusive and intangible Tao." Now, second recommendation Wayne Dyer gives to us here is memorize the final 2 lines of this verse and silently recite them when needed. He says, repeat these 2 sentences. How do I know the ways of all things at the beginning? I look inside myself and see what is within me. Doing so will remind you that the Tao comes from truth. The truth that's inside of you at all times, ladies and gentlemen. Give up trying to persuade anyone else of the correctness of your vision. When they're ready, their own teachers will surely appear. That refers to the great saying, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Wayne Dyer continues, here is a concluding thought on the elusive nature of the Tao, written by Hafiz, our favorite Hafiz, many centuries after the death of Lao-tzu. If you think that the truth can be known from words, if you think that the sun and the ocean can pass through that tiny opening called the mouth, oh, someone should start laughing. Someone should start wildly laughing now. And that's why Hafiz is one of my favorites. I still haven't looked up Hafiz, but man, every one of his little poems in here is fantastic. Just like every one of these chapters, ladies and gentlemen. And at the end of each of these chapters, Wayne Dyer gives us a recommendation in a way that we can practically apply the wisdom of each of these chapters into our life today. Kind of the rubber meets the road, or the meat and potatoes. The real, applicable way that we can put this kind of higher thought wisdom into action in our life. And so I recommend you check out the description below so you can get yourself a physical copy of this book and have reference to it. And so Wayne Dyer says here in his recommendation at the end of each chapter, do the Tao now. And today's do the Tao now says, today, become conscious of the force that allows your every movement. For 5 minutes in your meditation, and if you haven't started meditating, ladies and gentlemen, please take 60 seconds to take a few deep breaths and just see what's popping up in your mind. And that's the easiest way to begin a meditation practice. You could be mowing the lawn, you could be doing the dishes, you could be sitting on your couch, you could be sitting in the car doing a video like I am right now. Just in through the nose. Long, deep breaths out through the mouth. One more. And just that resets the chemical production in your mind and your body to where you will literally feel more calm, more relaxed, more safe, more in control. All of the things that we always want. So today, become conscious of that force that allows your every movement. For 5 minutes in our meditation, stay in the gap, quote unquote, between your thoughts. And notice the elusive but omnipresent, invisible source that allows us to speak, hear, touch, move, any of those things. And then in parentheses here, Wayne Dyer says, I've created a meditation that can assist you in the process, and it's included in my book, Getting in the Gap. Boom. Boom. That's not a boom, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what is. If you got value, smash the like button, consider subscribing, because that helps this video through the algorithm to reach more people that may not already be subscribed, or, may not be searching for this in particular, but may need this in their lives. And next week's verse or chapter, next week's verse is the 22nd verse, but next week's chapter, titled by Wayne Dyer, is Living with Flexibility. Don't we all need a little flexibility in our life, ladies and gentlemen? But I loved this one. I'm totally going to come back to this one in the future. Living the Illusive Paradox. Because it's really a great description of the nature of reality. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll leave it there. I just want to say thank you to so much whoever takes the time, and to everybody who does take the time to spend time with me here and Dr. Wayne Dyer and Lao-tzu and the great wisdom of the ages, because we should continue to seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment, ladies and gentlemen. Seek to achieve and discover the hidden wisdom, the wisdom of the ages, and make happiness the way, because when happiness is the way, the destination becomes irrelevant. And we just live our lives in happiness. But it's a practice. It doesn't come easy. So let's begin practicing this and putting it into action each and every day in our lives, in the way that we interact with others and our own self. All right. Love you, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in the future with more wisdom of the ages and Tao. Do the Tao now.